Non-date range BAS reporting is the more complicated of the two methods for preparing your BAS in MISTRO Finance 5. It's a good practice to make a backup of your database before completing this BAS, as some changes inside the non-date range BAS reporting are not reversible. This form of BAS reporting allows you to change anything you like in MISTRO and will account for the GST implications automatically and correctly at the next BAS. You can even go back and enter transactions from a previous year or quarter, and these will be included in your current BAS. There are two main disadvantages of this system. You can't reprint a BAS for a previous period once the transactions have been locked up, and it's a little more complicated to use. If you do choose to use this format, then click Reports, GST, and BAS to begin preparing your BAS report. You're given the option to use the current period by clicking No, or a previous period. I'll use the previous period. Now I'm asked which accounts I wish to include. By default, all accounts are chosen. You can remove an account by clicking on the tick box next to it. Or you can clear all of them by clicking Clear Accounts and then just choosing the ones that you want. When you're satisfied with your selection, press Save. MISTRO will now begin to calculate your BAS report. What it's done is extracted the necessary information from the database and now prepared a replica of the form provided by the tax office. This is in 2 pages, page 1 and page 2, which can be accessed via the tabs at the bottom of the screen. MISTRO calculates the values on these 2 pages, such as G1, G4, and so on. What you should do is carefully check the values that are calculated by reviewing both pages of the BAS. The BAS can be edited on the screen by clicking on the number you wish to change and typing in the entry you require. You can only change the blue numbers on the screen or the blank numbers. The first time you use the BAS form, you should ensure that the correct name and address are displayed at the top left corner of the screen of page 1, right here. And you should also enter your document identification number. Now, to assist in ensuring that the entries in your BAS are correct, the transactions that are included on page 2 are calculated and displayed in the tabs across the top of the page. So for G11, if I click on the G11 tab, all of the transactions that have gone to make up G11 on page 2 of my statement are shown in the G11 tab. You can use the print button at the bottom of the form to print the current page that's displayed. For example, you might want to keep a record of all of these G11 transactions. With the transactions displayed on the screen, the print button generates a report. With the BAS displayed, a draft printout of the form will be generated. So if I was to switch back to here and press print, I'd get a draft printout of the form. It's strongly recommended that you print out all the transactions included in each calculation during the preparation of your BAS statement. It'll make it much easier for you, your accountant, and your tax auditor to check them. MISTRO doesn't calculate the amount of instalment income shown at T1, which appears on page 2 of your statement. This figure includes milk income, some component of cattle trading, and non-farm income such as dividends and interest. It will be specific to your situation, and you need to determine a method with your accountant for calculating the value required at T1. The BAS used for partnerships will not show any instalment income at T1. A separate tax form will be used by each individual for that purpose. When you and your accountant are finally 100% happy with your draft BAS, you click the Record GST Items and Print Final Statement button at the bottom of the form. Clicking this button will print the final statement and 2 reports that list the adjustment transactions recorded on the statement. So let's record an adjustment transaction. And now, Record GST Items and Print Final Statement. You'll notice that when I typed in a new value in G4, the page flickered. This meant that all of the calculations were being redone by Maestro. It is very important that you don't click the Record GST items and print final statement until you are 100% certain that you have your BAS correct. Once you click the button, the statement is complete and can't be adjusted further. Maestro considers that you've now claimed on all the transactions. As you can see, there's a warning button to ensure that you don't click this button by mistake. I'll click yes, and now Maestro will prepare my BAS report. That has automatically been sent to my printer, which you'll probably hear in the background. When you've completed your BAS, you'll either write a cheque to the tax office or you'll receive a cheque from the tax office, the preferred result. This cheque is processed in the normal way, and you need to carefully allocate the required amounts to the different tax categories. On this transaction, you can record the amount of GST paid against your GST category and use a negative entry if you get a GST credit. The amount of tax withheld should be allocated to the tax paid category. The amount of 48% withholding tax in W4 should be allocated to tax 48 category as a negative amount since it's an income category. Personal tax instalments should be allocated to the personal tax category. So just running through again what you need to do: make a backup, select the BAS statement option, review the entries, print the reports, and write a cheque. There's a little more involved in that, but hopefully this tutorial has got you started.